Well, look at this. I'm filming my 16-week update and I just turned 17 weeks. It's like I'm doing this the way I'm supposed to. I'm really organized today, so this should be a very efficient video. I have just a few things, random things to talk about, and then I want to talk about my 16-week appointment, which brought up all these questions on birth. So, let's go. 16 weeks was pretty chill. I feel like right now I'm having some days, the good days, I wonder if I'm pregnant. Do you ever have days like that? Like it went from first trimester, you're like dramatic and everything's bloated and you're exhausted and you're sick, and then all of a sudden you're like, is everything good? Am I still pregnant? So I wrote some good days. I'm wondering if I'm still pregnant, and then I don't even want to say bad days, but the maybe more intensified symptom days, I'm like, whoa, I'm really pregnant already. I'm 16 weeks and I'm feeling everything so much more this time. This week I had heartburn for the first time ever in pregnancy. I didn't have heartburn once last time with Zoe. So that's new for me. And you know what brings it on is Cliff Bars, which sucks because I like Cliff Bars and I usually keep one in my purse, but Cliff Bars give me wicked heartburn. And so do a few other foods, which I never had that last time. So yay, more pregnancy symptoms we love. I officially cannot lay on my stomach. Baby is there, legit. Like, it's so crazy because when you get a little bigger, I mean, everyone's gotten bloated, right? Or like eaten too much or gained weight. It's just so different when it's a baby. It's like hard. And it's just like this substance. I mean, it's a body in there. So yeah, I cannot lay on my stomach anymore, which changes a lot of things. I'm like sad already because I'm I'm more of a back sleeper actually, so that's a total lie. But all of a sudden, now that I can't sleep on my stomach, I want to sleep on my stomach, of course. The baby is the size of a navel orange, which is pretty decent. Like when I look at that, I bought an orange the other day, or maybe I just held one in the grocery store. I was like, yeah, I'm getting there. I'm doing something. What was interesting about the baby? They have tons of blood, like 25 quarts of blood they're pumping, and they're forming their first bowel movement. Who comes up with this stuff? That was in my pregnancy app. I was like, wow, cool. That's what I want to know about my baby. Your baby's getting ready to poop in your body. Yay! But it's cool. It's really cool. I love when the baby starts to grow and things start to get real and you start to I'm feeling way more movement and just the presence of a body, which is just trippy. It's trippy to me. So we're gonna move on to the doctor's appointment I had. 16-week appointment at my practice is not an ultrasound, it's just a Doppler. So you just listen to the heartbeat. At this practice, I have a doctor. And then this time I met with one of the midwives. So they have I think they have a few doctors and then they have a few midwives that kind of like help out, but they're not separate. Like you can't choose really to deliver with a midwife there. You'll have exactly the same experience, but they just want you to know the midwives in case they're around when you're giving birth, which did happen last time. So I went in with a few different questions. The first one I had was something that I talked about in the last video, which is just the tailbone and pelvis pain I'm having. So I'm asking this midwife, I'm like, this is perfect, because midwives are supposed to not know more, but probably know more holistically, right? That's the idea that I have in my head. So I'm like, everything's fine, everything's great. I'm just having a lot of like tailbone or SI joint pain, and that didn't happen until the end last time. What do you suggest I could do about that? I'm really active. Should I be less active? Should I be more active? Are there certain exercises that could be contraindicated, or are there like physical therapy type of things that help to stabilize? And this lady, bless her heart, I mean, she's clearly like, she probably knows a bajillion things that I don't. She probably like do surgery, or well, I don't know if midwives can do that, but she just like has this blank look on her face and she's like, well, I would make sure that you're sitting with good posture. I'm like, okay. But like what, like give me something to chew on here. Like, what else, like in movement, and you know, da da da. And she's like, okay, well, maybe you should, like, when you bend over to get things, use your knees and not your back. I'm like, okay, well, so should I not do deadlifts? And she's like, what's a deadlift? I'm like, oh man, this sucks. So I show her, I like have good form, pull in my core, bend over, and she's like, oh my goodness, well, nobody should be doing that. Like, oh man, I'm in the wrong place, this is not good. I was like, okay, well, how about like single leg stuff? Do you think single leg stuff makes that movement worse? Should I do like just a lot of glute bridges? She was like, you could try buying a belt for support, which I had that from last time. So 0 help from her. And I was really bummed. I was really disappointed. I thought maybe I'd get something good. So this will be probably an ongoing journey and topic of discussion for the next few weeks as I try to take matters into my own hands and try a few different things. The first thing I'm gonna try, my friend Lori, she's the movement ninja on Instagram. She's really good with rock tape. And she was like, oh my gosh, get like a really thick, you can get 4-inch rock tape and just put it on your low back. It's gonna help support and do all this. She showed me how to do it. So I gotta get some of that. Lori, if you're watching this, can I have some? So that's the first thing I'm gonna try. So next video, next week, I'll let you know if that helps. And then my massage lady who I haven't been to in forever, she's really, really good. You go to her house and she's like super hands-on, and she is certified. I asked her, she's certified prenatally. So I'm wondering if I'm gonna start there. I'm gonna start with massage and then see if I can move down through the chain of like acupuncture, chiropractic, dry needling, things like that. And just see, because a lot of you on Instagram too and on here were like, I had that so bad in my pregnancy and afterwards too. And that's not something that I would like to stick around or be a friend of mine in pregnancy, because I've got a ways to go. So that was sort of a bummer at the doctor, talking to the midwife about that. I was like, I don't want to say she doesn't know anything. She knows like a million things, but I was just kind of bummed that she wasn't able to help me out in that department. So then I was really picking her brain. I wanted to know, and I hadn't asked these questions yet, about like the birth at a hospital. Like, do I have to wear a mask when I push? Because I've seen, I don't know, maybe it's over dramatized, but people on the internet, I love to watch birth stories and birth vlogs and whatnot. And some people were like, yeah, I was really surprised they made me wear a mask when I was pushing. Oh my gosh. So I wanted to make sure I didn't have to do that. I wanted to make sure my husband doesn't have to wear a mask. I'm sorry, but if I cannot see his face, I'm gonna freak out, and I need to be like locked in with Dan. That's really important. And then I wanted to know visitors and just like, what is that experience like? So if I go the hospital route, I can have 2 visitors. Dan counts as 1, so I could have my mom around, which I really liked last time. My mom's really good at homeopathy, and she had some like, she can kind of give like natural advice if it's just like little things. And even last time, I didn't want her there, to be honest, for like some of it, because some of it you're like, I need you to leave. But it was really nice knowing she was there in the waiting room, and that she was there if I needed her. And there was one point in Zoe's birth where I kind of gave up. I was like, I can't do this. I've been in labor for so long and I'm not progressing. I was just like so downtrodden and disheartened, and she was able to come in and pray over me, and it just like, I was just weeping. It just was so beautiful, and it was just such a special moment, and it helped turn the whole mindset and the birth around, and I was just really thankful for that. So I'm glad that she could be there for a hospital birth. But you know what tripped me out is they don't allow any kids to come. So not only like after this baby is born will we have no visitors, like my dad can't come, Dan's parents can't come, my brother and sister-in-law and their kids can't come, but Zoe can't come and see the baby. Has anyone had that happen if you've had a baby in the last year? I assume so, but I guess I just had this fantasy of, I don't want her to be there for very long, like I want to be able to recover, but I just wanted her to come in and spend like 10 minutes and like meet her baby sibling. So if I go through the hospital thing, I'm gonna have to let that go, and that's fine, I guess. But yeah, so I touched on this last time, and even since, I had a lot of you, I think it was on Instagram, message me about like birth options, which I had to think long and hard. Do I want to open this can of worms? Because it's a big discussion. But so I talked to this midwife about a birth center, and this is where I would love your input if you have input. I guess this is kind of turning into like a birth options video. Sorry for the tangent, but the way the midwife was talking about a birth center is that it's no different than a home birth, other than it's just not your home. So like if you don't want to get your sheets or your tub like nasty, then you can be somewhere else, but it's essentially the same as far as the interventions available and like the life-saving interventions available. So she said like if something went wrong with you or the baby that was life-threatening, you still have to call 911, you still have to wait for the ambulance to get there, and you still have to go to the hospital. And she's like, I don't want to freak you out, which I'm sure she was trying to freak me out and keep me at the practice. I don't know, maybe not. I'm just suspicious of everybody. But she said, I've been a part of situations or known people who had bad things happen because they didn't make it to the hospital on time. So birth center is, you run the same risk as a home birth. So if you're cool with that and that's the experience you want to prioritize, then that's great. But it's no in between, which I was under the impression that it was. Like you have home birth and then you have like hospital. Well, it's not better, it's just different on a different level. And then I thought birth center was like in between. And she made it sound like it was not. However, some of you wrote me and said if there are some birth centers in my area that are either attached to a hospital or very close to a hospital. So if something were to go wrong, I could whiz on over there rather quickly. Which, tangent number 27, off of that, I will never have a home birth, only because we had family friends growing up. I think they had a pretty big family, but they had home births, and their last birth, the cord was wrapped around his neck and he had major brain damage. And bless this family, like they were awesome, so awesome about it. I have really good memories of their family, but he was just a vegetable. He was very, very low functioning, and they raised him, they cared for him, and but their story was like, this wouldn't have happened this way if he would have been at a hospital or we would have gotten immediate care. And I don't even know, to be honest, if that is completely the story, but forever in my mind, I'm like, I don't want that to happen. I just don't want to run the risk of that or be like bleeding out or anything like that. I'm not a big fan of like, woo, I have to be at a hospital, but because of that, I always want to be close. Like I have zero desire to do a home birth. I guess because of that, I have a little bit of fear regarding that. But I would like some options to be like more hands-on, like with a midwife, and just not be like, okay, hi, you're here, let's let you have a baby, and bam, and it's not moving fast enough, drugs. You're not progressing, C-section, just stuff like that. I did have a decent experience. I delivered at Littleton Adventist if you're in the Colorado area, but I don't know if anything would have been different if I had a midwife. So I guess I want to know, like, if you have stories of a birth center being, like, is it possible to have it be in between a home birth and a hospital birth? And then how the heck do I go about making the switch? That sounds tragic right now. And do I contact the birth center or do I contact a midwife? How the heck do you find the right midwife? And I'm already like almost halfway through the pregnancy. Anyway, that's where my head is at, all from that one appointment. The very simple appointment turned into like all these questions spinning, and I just want to investigate it before this baby comes out of my body. Also, can you have an epidural at a birth center? I did not ask her that. Because I'm pretty sure for my last pregnancy or birth that the epidural was the only reason why I ended up dilating. I was in labor for like 24 hours and nothing was, I couldn't get past like a 5 or a 6, I don't remember, centimeters dilated. And then I got the epidural, my body relaxed, and voila. Okay, I have one more tangent because this just reminded me of that, and then we'll wrap up the video. If you've had a baby before, did anyone have hip flexor labor? Because we talk about back labor all the time. I hear that. It's a term, back labor, back labor. I don't think I ever had back labor, but I was aware of it. But last birth, I had the most debilitating, crippling hip flexor pain. Like my hips, and I don't know if this is a dancer thing, so please weigh in on this because I'd like to do something to combat that. I always, excuse me, I am always burping in these videos. That's not very ladylike. I want to combat that if I can and like prepare. Is there something, again, that I need to like strengthen or loosen or, I don't know, the hip flexor thing. And I think that's why I didn't dilate, because I could not relax. I couldn't even like get into a squat position. I had to get as open and like as, you can't see what I'm doing with my legs, but like in the most hip extension as possible. I just couldn't relax at all. Also, sorry, I was outside. Sorry for my look today. I was outside laying in the sun working on the laptop because I decided if I'm gonna be pregnant and gain some weight, I'm good with it. I'm just gonna be tan. Just gonna be tan and fluffy. So anyway, those are my questions for this week. I'm loving doing this. I'm gonna do these every week and I'm planning on posting them every Friday. So if you are following along, that hopefully will be a little easier for you to keep track of, and every Friday you can tune in and have a little coffee with me or commiseration, pregnancy commiseration, and hopefully that'll be fun because I have so much more to talk about on a weekly basis when things are current. I love it. So thank you so much for watching. My belly looks the same as it did last week. Baby's popping, man, popping way earlier. So maybe we'll do a belly shot next time, but thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next week.